When he discovers that the entire planet is under attack, a young man frustrated with his job decides to write a list of all the wishes he wants to fulfill before humanity is wiped out in a zombie apocalypse. Today we will recap the story of the live-action ZOM 100 from 2023. Akira Tendo is a young Japanese man who has just graduated from college and is entering the job market. Overjoyed, he walks through the streets of Tokyo on his way to the company where he has always dreamed of working and finally gets the chance to introduce himself to his new coworkers. On the very first day, Akira meets Otori and immediately falls in love with her. At the end of business hours, he is invited to dinner with his team and takes the opportunity to strengthen ties with the other employees of the company. After dinner, the young man says goodbye to the rest of the group and says he is looking forward to work the next day. However, at this point, he learns that he will have to return to the company with his other colleagues and work through the night. There, everyone has very strict deadlines to meet and needs to hand in their work on time, even if it means spending several days without being able to return home. After a few months of a grueling routine, Akira is completely exhausted. Besides not being able to sleep and bathe properly, the young man still has to follow the orders of Kasugi, who is an extremely authoritarian boss. One night, after venting to his friend about the abuse he suffers daily at the company where he works, Akira is advised to look for another job, but the truth is that he doesn't even have time to send out the resumes. In addition to being his best friend, Kensho was his teammate in college and the two were the best players on the football team. However, unlike Akira, Kensho is happy in his job and has become a very successful guy. When he finds out that his friend is making a lot of money and continues to be successful with women, Akira gets jealous and starts teasing him. At this point, the two young men start arguing and go away fighting. A few days later, Akira is waiting for the subway when a person with strange symptoms passes behind him, but the young man is too tired to notice. The next morning, his alarm wakes him up and he has to get up for another exhausting day at work. However, this time, when he goes downstairs in his building, Akira finds one of his neighbors devouring his wife and discovers that the old man has turned into a zombie. Suddenly, the man gets up and starts chasing him, so the young man has to run. While trying to escape, new monsters appear to try to devour him, but Akira manages to run to the terrace and jumps to the other side of a metal railing. That way, the zombies can't reach him. As he looks up at the sky, he spots a burning plane crashing down and realizes that this is the beginning of an apocalypse. However, the good thing about living through the end of the world is that Akira no longer has to go back to work. When he realizes this, the young man celebrates happily and starts thinking about all the things he can do now that he is on permanent vacation. At this point, he remembers Otori and decides to send a message to his coworker. Immediately, the woman answers him and asks Akira to go to her house. While climbing down the building's pipes, he meets a couple and says he will bring supplies for them when he returns home. Akira then puts on his headphones and gets on his bike to make it to Otori's house. On the way, the young man is chased by a horde of zombies and has to pedal fast to avoid being caught by them. When he arrives at his destination, he notices that the door to Otori's apartment is open and goes inside to check if the woman is okay. Upon finding her, her coworker reveals that she is not alone and Akira discovers that the president of her company is there with her. The man is another victim who has turned into a zombie and tries to attack them. So, in order to protect Otori, the young man goes up to his boss and manages to knock him down. The woman then strikes several blows to the monster's head and appears to be furious that he lied about leaving his wife to be with her. At this point, Akira discovers that the young woman was his boss's mistress and feels disappointed, as he had a strong passion for her. Suddenly, the infection generated around the bites begins to spread to the rest of Otori's body and the beautiful young woman turns into a terrifying zombie. She immediately attacks Akira, but the young man manages to dodge and runs away after confessing his feelings for his colleague since the day he met her. In the evening, he returns home and intends to deliver some supplies to the couple he met earlier. However, their apartment has been broken into and there is no sign that they managed to survive. That night, after seeing what a mess the world has become, Akira comes to the realization that sooner or later, he too will end up turning into a zombie. So the young man decides to write a list of 100 things he needs to do before that happens. The first item on his list is to declare his love for a woman, but since he already did that a few hours ago, he considers that wish fulfilled. Akira then adds a few more items to his list and commits to start accomplishing them the very next day. Early in the morning, he gets up to tidy his room, which has more than a year's worth of junk accumulated. Later, he goes to the supermarket and fills his trolley without caring about the value of the purchase. After all, he won't have to pay for any of those products. While walking through the corridors, he is surprised by the staff and has to run away to avoid being bitten. After that, Akira goes to a beauty salon and dyes his hair. However, The young man does not approve of the change and decides to return to his original color before moving on to the other items. The next day, he spends the whole afternoon drawing his self-portrait on one of Tokyo's largest buildings. On his way back home, he's running away from zombies as usual when he finds a nice motorcycle and upgrades his way of getting around the city. It's been 5 days since the zombie apocalypse started, and Akira decides to have a barbecue on the terrace together with his neighbors, who are still on the other side of the grid. However, the moment Akira sits down to eat, he realizes that the salt and all his seasonings are gone, so he decides to go out to get more. While in the supermarket, the young man notices that someone has entered the store and goes to take a look to find out if there are any monsters around. Just then, he is struck by a young woman, who mistakes him for a zombie. When she realizes that the young man is not infected, Shizuka lets her guard down until a zombie invades the establishment and she has to use a stick to take it down. After using an alarm to attract the attention of another zombie that enters the store, Shizuka picks up her groceries and leaves. When he gets home, Akira sees a photo he took with Kensho in college and decides to call him. During the conversation, the young man discovers that his friend is trapped in a hotel room together with a zombie woman and cannot get out because the place is surrounded. Upon hearing this, Akira pledges to rescue him and gets on his motorcycle to go save Kensho. The young man uses his old uniform and helmet to protect himself along the way and has to dodge the zombies that try to hold his motorcycle. When he finally finds the hotel where his friend is staying, Akira uses a little soundbox to attract the attention of the creatures, who swarm to get it, making way for the young man to enter the building. After using all the skills he acquired playing football to dodge the zombies, the young man finds Kensho and apologizes for the way he acted the last time they met. Just then, some monsters are attracted by Akira's voice and the pair must use a ladder to block the door and prevent them from leaving the building. That evening, the two friends will celebrate their reunion at a restaurant and Kensho prepares a feast for them. After dinner, Akira shows his list and his friend notes that there are still many items missing to complete the 100 wishes. Kensho is moved to find out that apologizing to him was one of the things Akira would have liked to do before he turned into a zombie, and thanks the young man for coming to his rescue. At this time, the young man thinks of a new wish to write in his notebook and states that he will fulfill his childhood dream by becoming a superhero who saves all people. The next day, Kensho follows some news via his cell phone and discovers that Tokyo has become the epicenter of the apocalypse. So Akira suggests that he and his friend travel to Ibaraki, where the Marine Paradise Aquarium is located. His plan is to get hold of the shark-resistant suit worn by divers. That way, he can become a superhero without risking contamination if he gets bitten. So the pair decide to pick up some supplies for the trip before they leave and raid a convenience store. Suddenly, a bus appears and everyone has to flee from a passenger who has turned into a zombie. As people run desperately for shelter, the zombies that are scattered throughout the streets attack them. In the midst of the chaos, the driver and two young stewardesses run into the store and manage to save themselves. At that moment, Akira sees a girl attacking the monsters that try to approach her and remembers that this is the same young woman he met in the supermarket. Seeing that she is about to be chased by a horde of zombies, Shizuka rushes into the establishment and the two friends immediately close the door. After introducing himself, the bus driver says he was taking the passengers to the Ibaraki Marine Aquarium because he heard rumors that there is a safe house there. What no one realizes is that the man has been bitten on the hand and it is only a matter of time before he transforms. In an attempt to relax after a terrifying morning, Reika and Maki start drinking while Shizuka goes to check the surroundings for monsters. Minutes later, the women are already completely drunk and invite Kensho to accompany them to a more reserved place. Then Shizuka appears and talks to Akira about some survival strategies. Just then, the driver who was apparently asleep gets up and the couple discovers that he has been contaminated. Quickly, they run away from the monster, which ends up being lured to the other corner of the store. While Kensho is having fun with the stewardesses, the zombie approaches and bites Mika. While trying to help her friend, Reika is also attacked and Kensho runs away. Hearing his friend's cries of despair, Akira rushes to help him and Shizuka turns on the radio to lure the zombie away. Soon after, the girl rushes to the exit, but runs into the stewardesses before she can open the door. Shizuka is about to be devoured when Kensho uses some fireworks to attract the creatures and Akira helps her escape. After leaving the store, the trio need to find a vehicle to continue their journey, however, they are all without keys. Luckily, Akira finds a trailer with the key in the ignition and the group manages to escape just before being devoured. As they are heading to the same destination, the three young people decide to continue their journey together and enjoy some fun on the way. During rest breaks, the trio practice yoga on a surfboard, parachute, light fireworks and bathe in a hot spring. As the days go by, the friendship between the three grows stronger and they become closer and closer, like a real team. On the 10th day of the apocalypse, the group finally arrives at the aquarium and the tires of their trailer are punctured in a trap that has been laid on the road. As Kencho tries to stop the vehicle, Akira hits his head and is woken up by his former boss. The young man is surprised to find that Kasugi is alive and reappears in his life to torment him. The man gathered a group of people in the shelter and became the leader who coordinates the work of everyone in that small company he himself founded. While getting to know the place, Akira spots the couple who used to live in his building and is happy to discover that they managed to escape. The residents of the shelter are divided into groups to ensure that everything runs as smoothly as possible, and Kasugi reveals that he uses a group of zombies to ensure the safety of the place. The creatures are isolated by bars and prevent other people from breaking into the fortress. This way, they are not at risk of being looted. After introducing the place, Kasugi invites Akira to come back to work for him, as he needs reliable employees to help him keep order in that place. Initially, the young man refuses the offer, as he still wants to fulfill many dreams before he perishes. However, when thinking about the well-being of his friends, Akira comes to the conclusion that staying in that shelter is the best option for them and decides to accept working again for the man who treated him like garbage. During lunch, Kencho is disgusted to notice that Kasugi and his men are feeding on the best foods while all the other survivors eat only bread and small pieces of meat. Furious, the young man gets up to confront him, but is stopped by Kasaka. The man begs Kencho not to cause trouble, as he is afraid of being expelled from the fortress along with his pregnant wife. Then the young man is touched by the situation and decides to restrain his anger. While everyone is asleep, Kasaka takes Kencho and Shizuka to the parking lot and states that if they want to leave, they can use any of those cars. The vehicles belong to the people who fled to the shelter and are no longer of any use, as no one is intending to leave the place. Despite being unhappy and forced to work, the survivors would rather continue to be exploited than risk living on their own. That morning, Kasugi sends some men to collect food from nearby supermarkets, and when the truck returns, the employees are attacked by a zombie that was hiding in the back of the vehicle. At that moment, the zombies that were isolated outside invade the shelter and devour the people living inside. Even the fishermen who were at the edge of the pond are attacked and knocked into the water by the creatures. Minutes later, their bodies are devoured by a gigantic great white shark that lives in the aquarium. While the attack is going on, the three friends are in the parking lot and Kencho tells them that he managed to fix the tires of the trailer. He tries to convince Akira to make arrangements to leave that night, but the young man has been abducted by fear and claims that the best chance they have of surviving is by staying in that shelter. After making his decision, Akira returns to work at the warehouse and Shizuka finds his notebook. Reading all the wishes that her friend still wants to fulfill, the girl goes after him and tells him that she has decided to leave with Kencho. She claims that not even inside the shelter those people are totally safe, so in a world where everything is uncertain, Shizuka says that her only certainty is that she doesn't want to continue living in that place as a zombie. The young woman then shows the notebook to Akira and reminds the young man that he has dozens of things to do before he becomes a zombie. At that moment, Akira remembers all that he still wants to accomplish alongside his friends and his heart is filled with courage. Furious at Shizuka's attempt to take one of his best employees, Kasugi knocks the girl down and starts stomping on the notebook. Seeing this, Akira knocks out his boss and, after getting his list back, he resigns. Suddenly, the zombies that have overrun the facility arrive at the warehouse and Kasugi pushes his employees to be devoured while he flees. In return, Akira helps his colleagues escape and only enters the hideout when everyone is safe. Minutes later, the group arrives at the tank and Kencho attacks Kasugi. The young man is furious that he has abandoned his team, as this is not the role of a leader. Just then, a great white shark jumps out of the water and devours the only employee who was still supporting Kasugi. At this point, everyone goes into despair as they realize that even the shark has turned into a zombie. In an attempt to calm them down, Shizuka says they have nothing to fear, as fish are not able to move out of the water. However, to everyone's surprise, human legs stick out from inside the creature's abdomen and allow the shark to run after its prey. While the survivors try to find shelter, Akira manages to open the pantry and asks everyone to go in there. However, Kasugi is trapped outside with the beast and tries to sneak away while the monster tries to break down the pantry door. However, the man ends up making noise as it flees and attracts the predator's attention. Worried about his former boss, Akira decides to go out and help him, as he knows that to fulfill his dream of becoming a superhero, he needs to be willing to risk his life to save all people. Before going to the rescue, the young man spots the diving suit that protects against shark bites and knocks the creature out seconds before Kasugi is devoured. While he's holding the fish, his former boss tries to escape and accidentally opens a passage for even more zombies to invade the place. Seeing his friend in trouble, Kensho decides to come out of hiding to help him and uses a vehicle to hold off the shark while Akira goes after Kasugi. When he finds it, the young man sets out to attack the zombies, trusting that his costume will protect him. However, Akira forgets that while the suit doesn't allow his skin to be pierced, it doesn't prevent him from feeling the pain caused by the bites. Unable to defeat the shark, Kensho decides to escape and uses a small opening in the wall to cross into the tank, leaving the animal trapped outside. By this time, Akira can no longer move, as he is surrounded by zombies that keep trying to tear at his flesh. However, when Shizuka appears, she uses 2 megaphones to broadcast a very loud sound and lure the creatures away from her friends. The girl then runs to the pond and throws the devices at the rocks that lie around the water. So, when the monsters try to follow the sound, they end up falling into the aquarium and can't get out anymore. After all the trouble they've been through, the 3 friends celebrate their victory and Kasugi orders them to now get rid of the shark. At that moment, the zombie fish manages to break through the wall and throws the man away. When Akira goes to try to revive him, he ends up becoming another victim and has his arm swallowed by the monster. Immediately, Shizuka starts thinking of a plan to save her friend and comes up with the idea of using 2 flashlight batteries to apply an electric shock to the shark's head. The problem is that only Akira can do this, as he is the only one who is wearing a metal suit and can therefore channel electricity. The challenge now is to deliver the batteries to the young man without being devoured, and Kensho is in charge of this mission. The first step is to attract the zombie's attention and make him give up going after Akira. Then Kensho throws the object to his friend, just like he did with the ball when they played football. With the batteries in hand, Akira punches the shark in the face and an electrical discharge runs through its entire body, causing the creature to lose all of its motor skills. Thanks to Akira's heroism, all his colleagues manage to survive the zombie attack, even his boss. The next day, everyone starts gathering supplies in their vehicles to hit the road, as they realize that staying in the shelter is not the best option. Now the group can abandon a routine of servitude to pursue something better, something that gives meaning to their lives. When he sees all his employees leaving, Kasugi is furious and orders them to return to the shelter. However, after having abandoned his team, the man no longer has the respect of any employee and is completely abandoned. After fueling up their trailer, the trio hits the road to their next destination and Akira asks his friends to add their wishes to the list. At that moment, he learns that Kensho's dream is to become a comedian and improve people's lives through humor. Shizuka, meanwhile, plans to put the knowledge she gained at medical school into practice to save many lives. Now that he has been able to be a superhero for a day, Akira decides that this will be his new profession and, while driving, he starts thinking about the other wishes he wants to fulfill to complete his